I'm an integrative physician, and my job is to help people move towards their wellness and their well-being. And there's two issues, actually, that I've had difficulty moving up the scale.
Before you go further,
yes.
Tell us again what your title is.
I'm a physician. I'm a medical doctor, and what I do integrative medicine, because I integrate everything I can find to help people move along that journey to wellness.
So, how long have you been a physician?
Almost 20 years.
And during that 20 years, would you say you've spent more time looking at people who are well or looking at people who are sick?
Generally, people come to me because they're sick.
Yes, so it's logical.
Yes.
But you have other things to do other than just looking at those who come to see you. And so our question is, have you spent any time studying the healthy apparatus?
Yes. Yes.
And what's your conclusion as you see healthy ones and not healthy ones?
Well, I always tell people, the physician doesn't heal, the surgeon doesn't heal, they only set up the conditions for healing if they're doing their job properly.
So you're saying a physician is a very strong point of influence?
Correct.
So our question to you is, do you believe that you've come to the place where you have spent so much more time in the study of well humanness that when someone stands before you sick, they really stick out like a sore thumb, an anomaly, an odd thing? In other words, they really look to you like someone out of balance that can be easily brought into balance.
Yes.
Then you've got it. That's ideal. There is no place we would rather you be than in the place of somebody walking in, they're dripping some sort of illness, and you look at it and your thought is, how odd. This is not the nature of the human species. Something must be troubling them. Yes. That is causing them resistance, that is set up a nucleus that allows this very odd thing, because wellness is the true nature of your body. And even though you're dripping the illness, most of you is wellness. And I would like to hold this knowing and focus upon you, you say to them, and activate everything well in your body. Yes, that's the key.
Yes, I agree. There's two issues that I would like some help with, because I'm getting stuck moving up the vibrational scale, both myself and helping other people with it. And in the last year or so, since you've been using that scale of, moving up the vibrational scale from anger to overwhelmment, etc., I personally have made more progress than I have in years, and have been able to help people more. And I heard you a couple of times actually move someone who was in so-called chronic pain up the vibrational ladder away from that. And I wanted some help doing that, particularly with the issue of being overweight. A lot of people come to me that are not happy in their bodies, and they're eating fairly well. They're exercising, and yet nothing's moving in terms of their weight, and there's a tremendous amount of resistance around that. And I have a lot of questions around that. I mean, is it possible for someone just to change their thought and their vibration,
yes,
and therefore change their weight?
Yes, okay. It is. But here's the thing. You heard us talking about this vibrational distance between where you are and where you want to be. And that's where all the work lies. That's all of it. So what keeps most people from having normal, what we call normal, quick success, in other words, we don't think that any of you should have to put up without something that you want for very long, because if you get your vibration in the right place, it's going to come to you quickly. And so you shouldn't have these long unfulfilled or unrequited desires, because the universe should be able to yield to you, and you should be able to let in a reasonable time. So it's just a fun, constant, steady unfolding. Eventually we'll begin holding classes on demanifestation, because there'll be so much wonderful stuff that you've been wanting for so long pouring into your experience. But what keeps most people from having steady progress is their journey is not quantifiable. They don't know what to do. They hear, so Esther and Jerry saw a television program, maybe even after they were on board this ship, or right before, that was talking about the advantages of a high carbohydrate, low fat diet, which was just exactly the opposite of what they had heard just about this time last year. And Esther said, what she has heard us say in many cases, how does anybody even have a clue about what they should eat? It's gotten to the point where Esther looks at every menu and everything on it has something really wrong with it. In other words, there's not anything that hasn't had a big black X through it at some point in her life experience. We're surprised that you find anything to eat, because there are so many things that you've been programmed not just in a slight way but in a strong way, and then you sit across the table from one another and look disapprovingly at the things that you choose to put on your plates. In other words, mealtime has become a hostile zone. And the waiters take great delight in the torture as they bring from table to table things that they know that you want to eat that you shouldn't, and they watch your inner turmoil, you see. And so what we want you to understand is that you could pick anything. It does not matter what you pick. Just pick a plan and then line up with it. In other words, but it is the lining up with it. You have to make peace with where you are. If you sit to eat something and while you're eating it, you are either not enjoying it, so there is resistance, or you are feeling guilty about eating it, so there is resistance. You're not in a place where your body can do what it would do if you were eating in joy, you see. And so everybody wants it to be outside factors. They want to talk about the fast food industry, or they want to talk about the preservatives or the sodas or the fructose. They want to blame it on the action journey. And we certainly understand that things do affect things. In other words, we know that you have this action journey that you are living. But if you would begin to consider your emotional journey first, and you would decide to make peace with where you are. We visited with a woman recently who was over 100 pounds more than she wants to be. And we said, and she didn't really want to talk about it, and yet she raised her hand, and there she was in the hot seat in front of everyone. And we said, you just got to decide, I like who I am. I weigh 100 pounds more than I want to weigh. That's where I am right now. But I can weigh 100 pounds more than I want to weigh and be embarrassed. Or I can weigh 100 pounds more than I want to weigh and be happy or be hopeful. And in that emotional range is the metabolic response. In that emotional range is the inspiration. In that vibrational range is everything that inspires you to the action that will bring you round to what you want. There are all kinds of behaviors that are inspired even on a cellular level when you're in alignment that just can't be inspired or received when you're not in alignment. It is our promise to you that it is vibrational alignment that is at the heart of everything. And so we would not do anything in terms of action until we'd brought ourselves in alignment. And we would bring ourselves to the place where we are wholeheartedly saying, I like who I am anyway. I like who I am anyway. I like me. Because what we notice as we visit with so many people who are struggling with this weight issue is that right in the vibrational center of that weight issue is a self-awareness issue, is a worthiness issue, is a I don't like myself issue. And then they want to go back and it has all this other stuff attached to it. And we say, you just got to get happy. And when you get happy, everything will come into alignment. And you can be happy under all conditions. You can if you decide to be. And until you decide to be, there's not an action or a diet that's going to hold you anywhere very long. You've got to come into vibrational alignment if you want anything to be stable in your experience.
Thank you. My second issue is, as an integrative physician, I've met a tremendous amount of resistance out there in the political, legal arena. I understand how I attracted that originally. There's a tremendous amount of resistance out there.
For example?
Physicians who practice alternative medicine are frequently attacked by their medical boards, as was I. And they attempt to try and take your license away for practicing alternative therapies. And we
Well, let them take it. It's not worth much. Your value to others is your ability to cause them to offer a vibration that lets their wellness in. You don't need a license for that. In other words, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I need your approval, so I'll jump through your hoops, but I want to do things that you don't approve of. You can't have it both ways. You just got to decide. I'm an uplifter. I'm a healer. I'm a vibrational aligner, you see. And what you'll discover is that the people that are out there, the clients that are out there, they're sifting themselves out. There are those that wouldn't be caught dead in your office anyway.
And I agree. I mean, the more I've been under scrutiny, the busier my practice is. I mean, people are coming to me in droves. My practice is very busy and very successful. But
well, let it be known that the best thing that could ever happen to you or your patients is that somebody takes some license away that has been hindering you and keeping you from helping them.
Whoa.
In other words, as we guide physicians or nurses, frequently they'll say to us, they'll ask us what they would do, and we'll tell them what we would do, and then they will say, oh, I couldn't do that because I'm not allowed to give false hope. And we say, well, we don't want you to give false hope either. We want you to give real hope. And they say, yes, but I'm not allowed to say those things. I would be fired. And we say, well, if you're not allowed to help to cheer someone or give someone some level of confidence based upon your expertise and what you've seen, then you're of no value to them. And can you hear what the medical community is saying? They're saying, we are so wrapped up in your illness that we don't dare even suggest that you might get better. And if you suggest that they might get better, we'll take your license away. Mm-hmm. And we would say, this isn't the game I came to play in. I came to play in the game of upliftment because I know the difference between despair and hope. It's the difference between recovery or not, you see. But the physicians or the medical board, they want the recovery to be dependent upon something that they can sell to you. In other words, we want you to believe in our drug or our process, not in your God-given right to be well.
I understand all that, and I guess my question is, how do you, the legal process is so intense, and it's so easy to get pulled into the focus of the resistance. And actually the good news is we're almost through it, and 2 days after we get back from this trip, the whole thing's going to be settled, and we basically won a pretty big victory. But the problem is I keep getting caught into the legal model, and I want to know how to move vibrationally out of that. You're saying just let go?
We can help you here. It takes two to have the experience every time. And so when someone moves into alternative medicine, they rarely do so without pushing against what they are moving from. And it is that pushing against that is the hook that shines a light on you that gets them to look at you. In other words, if you were just bipping along, living happily ever after, doing your thing and not pushing against. In other words, when you puff up and you say, I have a better way and my way is better than that, that is going to defend itself. That's going to say, no, that's not true, and here's why. And so what you want to do is just offer yourselves vibrationally and don't push hard against them. And it is our promise to you, if you're not pushing against them, they'll have less reason to push against you.
Thank you.
Be easy about all of this and continue as you are. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd continue to do what we're doing. You have all kinds of knowledge that is serving you. And now you're understanding about the real vibrational journey that's going on within everyone, and the coupling of what you know and who you are and the knowledge that you have about medicine. You see, knowing what you know about medicine enhances the belief factor in those who come to you. And that's why we began with you in the very important question that we ask. Are you studying wellness more than you're studying illness? Because when you've got your expectation of wellness really activated within you, your ratio of assisting others will skyrocket.